Hey buddies, Mr. Puggy here, coming at you in another Borderlands 3 video. Today I'm going to be showing you the black market location and every single items inside. After I show you the items, I'm going to, of course, then show you what each and every single item can do. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch on the top right. You have no idea how much helps me out, and let's get into it.
Legendary? Whoa! No way, dude!
So first things first, the black market machine is going to be on Necrotafeo, and then it's going to be on Desolation's Edge. It's going to be all the way over here, right where I have my Cyclone. I'm going to zoom out on the map all the way just so you can see it. And there's two fast travel locations you can travel to. You want to travel to the non-drop pod version because the non-drop pod version has a vehicle spawner right next to it, all the way over here, and the actual location of the black market machine is only going to take you about maybe 15 to 20 seconds to actually go to. So you just want to take the same exact route that I'm taking. Occasionally you'll see some little runner guys to attack, but obviously ignore them so we can get to the black market machine as soon as possible. And normally there's some enemies that spawn right here, but I killed them all before I started the video, and here is the machine. I'm going to show it on the map one more time, zoom out all the way, and the items of the day are going to be the P.A.T. MK. Now this used to be actually a pretty good TDR, but due to the TDR global nerf, it's not as good as it used to be. It's a decent gun otherwise. I feel like it's not really that great, and this one doesn't really do too much, but it has a cool laser beam effect I'll show in a few moments. Then we have the Tri-Bolt. This gun's okay. It doesn't deal that much damage and it fires really slow, so unfortunately this isn't really a great weapon. I wouldn't really pick this one up. If you do it correctly on Moze, you can kill people decently fast, but you got to make sure you hit crits, but otherwise this gun isn't really that good. And then we had the Recharge Berner, which is a combination of the Nova Berner and the Recharger. I'd honestly say to skip this one as well, but we'll talk more about it once we go to Sanctuary. First things first, let's talk about the Tri-Bolt. Now the Tri-Bolt is an assault rifle Torg weapon that does actually pretty decent damage. As long as you hit crits, it can spawn in every single element, even kinetic, and the max damage of this gun is going to be 34k for fire, shock, and corrosive. Cryo is going to be 37k, and I believe radiation is just about 32k. It is able to spawn with splash anointments, which is really good, and you'll see right here when you shoot it, it shoots in a 3-round burst, and it shoots really slow, honestly. So I'm just going to spam the button as fast as possible, and it sure shoots a decent amount, but keep in mind this is only a 3-round burst, so it's not that great. There's definitely better Torg weapons out there. I was able to kill Grave Ward in just about 10 seconds with this gun, but I'll of course show my self speed killing Grave Ward, but that's only because you can hit his crit spot. When you actually go to out in the field and you're not able to hit crits, you'll notice that the damage just isn't really there. One cool thing about this weapon is that since it can't switch between impact and sticky, it's always going to spawn the bullets in a sticky version. After they hit a target or the ground, they'll explode after just a half a second or just a second. This allows you to double crit if you hit crits, which is always nice if you use a Minesweeper Moze. Another interesting thing is if it doesn't hit a target within a short distance, it explodes in the air, as it'll be showing right there. So unfortunately, it can't travel all across the map. It explodes a little bit preemptively, which is a bit unfortunate. If it didn't do that, you could potentially snipe people, but it has also an arcing pattern, so it's also kind of hard. It's just all around a interesting gun, but it's not really that great, unfortunately. And even with the Revolter, it doesn't shoot that fast because the delay between the bursts, is what's really kills the gun, honestly. If it didn't have that delay, it could possibly shoot faster. But next, let's talk about the P.A.T. MK 3rd edition. So this is a legendary TDR SMG that is able to spawn in only shock, corrosive, and cryo, and kinetic. It can have list projectiles of 1 to 2, and it can spawn with splash anointments, which is great. Max damage of the gun, corrosive and shock, is going to be the 22k, as you see right here, while corrosive will be 23.8k. Cool thing about this gun is that when you shoot, you'll notice that the bullets have a weird projectile wiggle pattern, so it's fun in that form. but it makes it really hard to actually hit targets from really far away because sometimes they'll just zip past the guy's shoulder, even just go around the enemy, which is a bit unfortunate. This gun will always spawn with TDR legs, which means that the gun will spawn in a turret mode, shoots bullets, and can walk around after it's done. It will run into an enemy and explode. Interesting thing about this weapon, as you can see here, it says thrown weapons always spawn with a full magazine. So it doesn't matter whether or not you are just around one bullet, you're going to deal the same amount of damage from a TDR chuck as you would from a full magazine, which is very, very convenient. So you see right there, that was 1 million, 1 million. And we're going to go all the way down again, and this should be 1 million, 1 million again. The only other interesting thing with this weapon is the walking turret is able to shoot a laser beam that penetrates enemies, and sometimes bullets will explode on impact, which is cool. So it deals splash damage and such. And after its magazine empties, it's going to deal the same amount of damage as it would if you were to chuck it at the enemy, I believe, from the testing I've done. One other cool thing about the P.A.T MK3 is that the gun actually has a unique voice module for the TDR turret as well when it's in your hands. Hopefully you're gonna be able to hear it. There you go. So there he has like a lot of like weird little voice lines. He sounds like more like a little, I'm not really sure how you would call that. It's like maybe like an evil minion or something, but it's very cute. Let's head over to the field so you can actually see the laser beams in action. Now, as I walk over to the enemy, I'll say that the bullets themselves actually deal pretty decent damage, but the turret bullets don't really deal much damage, which is a big unfortunate side effect of end game scaling for TDRs. The reload explosion does a lot of damage, like most TDRs, but because of the global nerf, you'll also notice that the reload damage isn't as high as you could probably do with other TDR weapons. So I'm going to spawn the turret a bit, and you'll see that it will just run across the field and shoot the enemies, and you'll see that the lasers will come out, but the damage that it's dealing is not great at all. So I'm going to try to make him shoot this guy. You see that the damage is only like 11k, but if I were to shoot him regularly, it's a lot higher. So the damage isn't really there for in turret mode, but it is really ammo efficient, which is not the case for most TDRs. So you could, in theory, just do all your shooting and such, and then eventually you'll be able to throw out your reload and then it will deal the same amount of damage as any other reload would do as a max magazine reload chuck with a TDR, which is great. But as I said time and time again, the damage just isn't really there, unfortunately. When this gun did first come out, people were saying it was like the new meta and stuff, and sure, it might have been at the time, but the damage isn't there anymore. Like, for example, let me go over to Captain Tron and you'll see how little damage the reload chucks actually do. So now that I'm Captain Tron, I'm going to activate Revolter, I'm going to exit Iron Bear, and I'm just going to throw my TDRs as fast as possible to the enemy. And you can see right here that the damage just isn't really there, unfortunately. It doesn't deal that much damage, and occasionally I might get the Minesweeper to proc, but the damage just isn't really there, unfortunately. It just doesn't deal as much damage as it used to. I mean, like, sure, I could like one-shot a grunt, but that doesn't really mean much. Like, TDR chucks are supposed to deal tons and tons of damage, and it just doesn't really deal as much damage. You're much better off using a needle gun because that has the highest damaging TDR reload in the entire game. Next and final piece of gear is going to be the recharge burner. As I said before, this is a combination of the recharger and the burner, aka the Nova burner. The recharger basically means that when the shield breaks, you fully recharge the recharger shield, which actually synergizes pretty nice with the Nova burner, because when the Nova burner breaks or fills, it's going to send out a Nova. In this case, for the recharge burner, this can actually spawn in fire, corrosive, and radiation. So it has more variants, like elemental variants, compared to the Nova burner, because the Nova burner can only spawn in fire. Because of this, you could in theory use it as a way to do large radiation novas that deal radiation status effects on the enemies, so they do big radiation explosions, so that's nice. Otherwise, it isn't really that great in my opinion. It is excellent that it allows you to try out different elements, but because of the fact that it is technically a toned down version of the Nova burner, because you see right here the item card says 111k damage on shield break or fill. The Nova burner can actually deal 148k on shield break and fill, so that's a bit unfortunate. The only thing that's really going for is that when it breaks, it instantly recharges all your shields, so you get break and fill at the same exact time, which then allows you to get both Novas to go out at the exact same time, which is very cool. But as you can see right here, with action skill start, activate any effects that trigger on break or fill, also procs the break and fill Nova, so every single time you go into Iron Bear or activate any action skill, you'll notice that both Novas send out, which is very, very nice. Once again, another negative to this shield is that it can only spawn in Hyperion parts. A Nova roll on the actual Nova shield is only possible on Enshins, and Nova burner can spawn in Enshins, but the recharger burner cannot. So you could actually deal more Nova damage as well by getting Nova rolls on the Nova burner. So it just it's like a jack of all trades, but it just doesn't really do much for you. I'm going to go over to my Zane Nova build that's able to kill Grave Ward in just 1 second with a bunch of Nova Burner procs and see if I can do the same exact thing with the recharge burner, but we should be seeing a pretty big damage penalty loss because of the damage of the Novas not being as high as possible. You can see that I'm on my Nova Burner Zane now, which has the Nova Burner with the dual roll Nova, which allows us to deal the most amount of damage with our Novas, and then I have the recharge burner right here. Same exact thing, it's fire, it deals a little bit less damage, but I'm going to use the same exact setup as I normally do to kill Grave Ward in just about 1 second and see if we can do it with the recharge burner, just out of curiosity. If anything, it probably should be able to do it close to a 1 second kill, but we'll have to see. But before I show you the recharge burner, let's actually show you the power of the tri-bolt, because I don't want to forget to do that at all. We're going to use the same exact setup as I always do, which means we're going to enter exit Iron Bear, we're going to apply some debuffs on the boss, and then we're going to proc Elemental Projector on ourselves, and then we're going to try to deal as much damage as possible to Grave Ward here. As you can see right here, the damage is pretty decent. Of course, it could be a lot better, but it's nothing to really scoff at. As I said, if you're able to hit the crits, you're able to deal lots of damage, but lots of enemies aren't necessarily easy to hit the crit spot, but Grave Ward is, so this is a very generous example on why the tri-ball is decent. Now let's go over to the recharge burner. Already, I'm going to do the same exact setup that I normally do. I'm going to activate Element Projector, I'm going to set up my barrier, and then I'm going to spam my Novas. And as you can see right there, it did not kill. Normally that kills Grave Ward, but the recharge burner has such a huge loss of damage that it wasn't able to kill him in just about 1 second, which is a big shame. And just to show you that I'm not capping, I'm going to switch over to my Nova Burner, and we're going to show you the one shot that the Nova Burner can normally do. Or I shouldn't really say it's a one shot because it's a bunch of Novas, but whatever. All right, running the same exact setup, I'm going to set up my barrier, and then we're going to just blast him, and he's gone. So the Nova Burner, right off the bat, you can see that it does a lot more damage than the recharge burner. I don't really think the recharge burner is really worth it, but I guess that's up to preference because it does have that nifty little recharge thing. But there's a lot of different shields and better shields that do a lot more than that particular Nova Burner can do, so I wouldn't really recommend using it in my opinion. If you're interested in this Nova Burner build that I just showed you to be able to kill Grave Ward in just 1 second with just Novas, it's on the top right. Oh, and I do want to say the T tier from the Black Market Machine, the P.A.T MK, is a DLC 4 item. So if you don't have DLC 4, don't get it because then you won't be able to use it. So don't waste your money on that. And as always, a big shout out to the members who make these videos possible. We have Jace Noodles, Clairvoyance, 31 Bar 70, and Rick Iglesias. These are the people who support me as little as $5 a month, and you can also support me as little as $5 a month by becoming a member with the link in the comments of the description or on the top right. The more members we have, the closer I get to becoming full-time, which means more videos for you guys. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
And the last shall be first to immerse in a pass out heat, facing him out with a moxie melt till he woke up drowning in tchotchke hell. War in a cave with a torch on a wall, then a window arrangement of porcelain dolls.